All right, time being 5:15, I'm going to call the July, and a quorum of members are present. I'll call the July 11th, 2024 Infrastructure and Facilities Committee to order. With that, we'll move on to agenda item number 1, approval of minutes of the June 13th, 2024 meeting.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, I got a motion to approve from Neil.
Can I second it even if I wasn't present?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second. Yeah, you could. Okay, we'll second it by Watson. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Okay, it passes 3-0. Move on to agenda item number 2, discussion and possible action on stormwater maintenance agreement with Robert W. Monk Gardens at 1800 North First Avenue. And this was TJ?
Yep. So we're bringing this item back. This is the maintenance agreement we discussed last month. These are typical maintenance agreements for any stormwater improvements for developments. I believe we were going to have some representatives from Monk Gardens, and we do. Would you please step up? So if there's any questions regarding the development or anything regarding Monk Botanical Gardens, they are under construction. So
Yeah, I guess the only comments I would make, my name is Paul Whitaker. I'm Secretary of the Board of Directors of Monk Gardens, and I'm also chairing the, I guess, the capital project that's underway right now. And the stormwater detention ponds were dictated by the size of the parking lot and by DNR stormwater regulations. And as was mentioned, this is just routine maintenance of those detention ponds.
Okay. Alder Neal?
I would move to approve as presented.
Okay, I have a motion to approve, from Neil, second from Alder Watson. I'll just say, I had read that the project wasn't moving forward, so that's kind of why we delayed it a month. But I've driven by it multiple times now, and there's a lot of work going on there, so.
Clearly underway.
Yes, so good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
With that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No one's opposed. That passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Move on to agenda item number 3, discussion and possible action on transportation project plat for project ID 6999-00-16/76 West Wausau Avenue, Stevens Drive to North 10th Avenue. TJ again?
Yep. So, as the agenda item states, that this is a plat that is required for the project. This identifies the property boundaries and then also where some temporary limited easements will be needed. So it identifies the exact locations. These easements are all going to be temporary, and they're just for grading, just due to the change of grade required in the project. So we just went through and hired a consultant. The approximate cost is $50,000, and then through that process, we'll identify what we have to pay the residents to acquire a temporary easement.
Any discussion, questions?
I have a question.
Okay, Alder Neal?
Do we need a motion first, or just go right into questions?
We'll start with questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the activities of a consultant with regards to the TLEs. I mean, it looks like it was a 3 or 4 block stretch, and I just don't know. I mean, it's $50,000. You know, I mean, it's the kind of thing where, you know, we're very sticker shockish lately, as you know, and this would move on to council anyways, and the question will come up then, I'm sure. So I'm asking it now. What does that $50,000 buy us that we can't do ourselves? Because that question would come up, I'm sure. What is the activity that we're paying for specifically, and how do we get to the $50,000 level?
So It's, the TLEs are, a requirement because we're going through this DOT process. And it's a pretty painful process. So these are, I guess, real estate specialists that have to go through and assess the property value of all of the properties, and then determine what that cost would be to purchase that property, use that property for this, certain amount of time. It's a long process. I know this, when you have to purchase property, it usually extends the project by about a year. So it's not something like you just go and assess the property, but exactly what you're getting for your $50,000. And maybe Eric can speak more. He has more experience with it.
Is there typically a negotiating going on with property owners, or is this a cut and dry process? I don't know, what goes on?
There can be. So as TJ said, they'll go through and they'll appraise the property, right? And take a look at what those values are and give each, it basically comes down to a square foot cost. They'll notify all the homeowners. It's actually through the eminent domain process that they have to use, and so it's a very lengthy process. And then lots of times when those values, we'll bring them to finance and say, hey, these are the offers that we want to make, right? And it's based on all of these calculations, and then finance will agree to release those. And then if the owners want to make a counter offer or have their own appraisal process or anything like that, then we'll have to pay for that appraisal too, for anything that they're doing. But hopefully, since these are TLEs, they're going to be pretty straightforward. But it's an arduous process to meet eminent domain procedures step by step and legally. To make sure everything's covered, yeah. It's something we don't have expertise in-house to do. Yeah, and it's
Okay, thanks.
expensive, unfortunately.
Is this is a state project, correct?
State-funded project. yeah.
State-funded project, okay.
Yeah. Or what was the cost share on that?
It's a 80/20 cost
80/20.
share. However, we cannot use that cost share for real estate.
Okay. Any other questions? Take a
Motion to approve.
Okay, I got a motion to approve from Alder Neal, second from Alder Watson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No one's opposed. Passes 3-0. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action on development agreement with STS Investments LLC west of Birchwood Drive and west of Old Coach Road.
So this is a developer's agreement to extend utilities and services west of Old Coach and Birchwood Drive. Some of the highlights are that the developer will be responsible for paying 100% of the cost of utilities, water, sewer, storm sewer. We will do the inspection services, and then once the utilities are installed, they'll become the property of the city. Yeah, so this is for a total of 4 lots.
Okay.
We recommend approval.
Alder Watson?
I'd move to approve.
Okay, I got a motion to approve from Watson. Second from Alder Neal. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None are opposed. That passes 3-0. And we'll move on to agenda item number 5, 2023 MS4 Annual Report and Compliance Update. TJ again.
Star of the show. All right, so every year, the city has to report sort of our stormwater activities since we are a MS4 permit holder. Some of those activities, per the requirements, are reviewing private developments, such as the Monk development that just came through. We review the plans, make sure they meet city code, and then bring this stormwater maintenance agreement to make sure that they continue to meet the stormwater regulations set forth by the DNR and the Wausau Municipal Code. Along with our requirements, we have to maintain our own ponds, storm sewer, and we have to report all of those activities to the DNR. So in this report, it's a sort of a compilation of all the activities we do throughout the year, which includes, like I mentioned, maintaining our ponds, how much material we remove from ponds, how much material removed from our storm sewer, what type of education activities we did. We're part of the North Central Coalition to expand the knowledge and education of our stormwater system. We, as part of that coalition, we have commercials broadcast on TV that you'll see played during the Olympics. We go to conferences around the area and have booths that we set up to discuss different stormwater activities that each municipality does. And then also in this report, we indicate what type of fiscal expenditures we have. So this is an annual basis that we go through and do this. And then I'd also like to talk about a project we have going on that'll is directly related to our MS4 report, but then this is more compliance related. So if there's any questions regarding to the report, I'll take those now before I move on to the compliance update.
This is the same report we get every year?
Yeah,
Leaf
just
pickup?
different numbers.
Yep, okay.
So last year, I brought forth to it was SISM at the time, but this committee, a grant to do a stormwater quality update and then also do a stormwater utility feasibility study. We have received that grant from the DNR, and we are currently underway with that project with Strand and Associates as a consultant. So as part of that stormwater quality management report update, we're going to do a comprehensive study of all of the cities, what we call them, their BMPs, best management practices, and that includes our street sweeping, our leaf pickup, our ponds, our private ponds. We map all of those or take the reports that indicates how much pollutant we're removing from the streets, and then it brings that all into a model, and it sort of gives you that information. And the two large pieces of information that come out from that is regulated by the DNR are the TSS removed, which is the total suspended solids, which is most of the time it's like the particulate matter and the silts and dirt that is removed through our BMPs. And then the other item that'll give you a percentage is total phosphorus. And that's one of the newer regulations that came down in 2019. So the total suspended solids requirement from the DNR is to remove 20% of all TSS from stormwater that is discharged in the city. For our past report, we're removing 30.6%, so we're good on the TSS standpoint. But from our total phosphorus, we are required to remove 68.6% of all phosphorus that's discharged in our stormwater, but we're only removing 28.1%. So there's a large gap in the total phosphorus that we need to remove. And the reason why that's important is because of that gap, there's going to be some pretty large expenditures on on the city's part in order for us to meet those requirements. And one way of doing that is through a stormwater utility. So as part of this DNR grant, we're also reviewing what the feasibility would be of starting up a stormwater utility is to help us meet those goals. I'm going to not get into the weeds because Strand and Associates will come either January or February of 2025 to sort of give you the information that they found. But a stormwater utility could help the city identify funds and how to spend those funds more efficiently towards meeting stormwater requirements. And the benefit of a stormwater utility is that while it's not generating or taking in any more tax revenue in the city, but it's who we're getting that tax revenue from. So residents who own a half-acre plot aren't really the big pollution generators. It's the large industrial users, it's other nonprofits that have large impervious surfaces like parking lots that generate these pollutants. And with that utility, we can now generate revenue similarly as a water or sewer utility does. And so you would be taxed on the amount of pollution you create, rather than just everybody taxed at the same rate. And using the general fund to fund these operations. As an example, this year, we are converting a pond from a dry pond to a wet pond. That is, will help us reduce our total phosphorus discharge. That pond conversion is going to charge us, or cost us $250,000. And that's just one pond. And that's not even going to bring us another percentage point towards getting up to that 68.8%. We're going to need 40 to 50 more of those projects to get us anywhere near that. So we have a long way to go, and I think that a stormwater utility would be one avenue to help us get there. We'll have more information as we move along with this project, and we'll have Strand and Associates come in at the end, either in January or February of next year. So if there's any questions.
I have one question. One thing kind of popped out at me. Section 3, minimum control measures. 3, illicit discharge detection and elimination. It says how many total outfalls does the municipality have? And it says 49. Then how many were evaluated as part of their routine ongoing field screening program? And it says 0. So why is it 0? I mean, why is there seemingly no routine inspections of those 49 outfalls? And then, what would an inspection look like? Because this is runoff, right, from impervious surfaces and, and going through their property in one manner or another. So do the inspections have to happen, as part of a rain event, that kind of thing? And, would this be a source of revenue if we were to do these and find, problems?
So per our MS4 permit, we are required to do these inspections once every permit term, and the permit term is typically 5 years. So once every 5 years, we'll go through and do what we call dry weather inspections. And that's, we do it during a dry period of time because a lot of our older infrastructure, there's infiltration through our pipes. So we don't, when we see a pipe, a stormwater pipe discharging water during dry period, then we know that there's probably an illicit discharge. It should be dry during a dry period. So then if we identify any water coming out, we have to take samples and test those samples, and there's certain parameters we have to meet. So if we find out that the water's clean, no further action is needed. But if we find out that there's some type of pollutant outside of those parameters, then we have to sort of, go up to the next manhole and track down where that pollutant's coming from. So it wasn't this past year. Obviously, this past year we had 0, but the previous year we inspected all of our outfalls. We did find a couple that were running during dry weather. We identified 2 that had pollutants, and we found out that when we were doing our testing, One of them was because we were also doing hydrant testing at the time, so we had high chlorine out of tolerance, and we were picking up some of that hydrant water, some of our municipal water. And then the other one was an an air conditioning cooler was using city water to, as part of their air conditioning, and we eliminated that illicit discharge too. So in both cases, it was just high chlorine being discharged. But, so if we do that every 5 years. If we do identify one that has, that polluting more often than it should be, we do it more regularly, but that hasn't been the case.
Is there any finances tied in with this report that would be, something that would go to, into our budget process this coming fall? I mean, is that kind of, information coming out of this report and made available to us?
A lot of the finances towards the end are operational, but some of them you'll see when we come into the budgeting cycle for our capital improvement projects. Like this year, we had Eau Claire Boulevard, we had Short Street. Those stormwater improvements are included in here. But most of it's operational.
Okay. Good. All right. Thanks for the report. And yeah, I know ever since I started, we've been talking about that stormwater utility, so it'll be nice to see some results from that. Okay. Nothing else. We'll move to adjournment. Motion by Watson, second by Neal. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I'm coming late every time.
Yeah. All good news, though.
I know the one thing I had was